everyone. I'm your host, Anika Zubair, and welcome back to the next episode of the Customer Success Pro podcast. I'm a customer success executive leader, award-winning CS strategist, CS coach, and customer success fanatic. I help CS leaders and CSMs build and scale world-class CS processes and teams. I'm a strong believer that customer success is not a destination, but a journey. And it can be a tough journey, but don't worry, I'm here to help. This podcast was created to help make your CS journey a little bit easier to navigate. Join me every month on this podcast where we will dive into the hottest topics in CS, the newest strategies, and the best practices in customer success so you can make your CS journey a little bit easier. Make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast so that you can continue to learn on this CS journey that we are on together. Welcome back. Today, I'm speaking with Erika Villarreal, who is a strategic customer success manager at Aptura. But you might actually recognize Erika's name because she has over 17,000 followers on LinkedIn. And almost 4 years ago, Erika transitioned into customer success and used her personal brand on LinkedIn in order to land her dream job in customer success. Fast forward to today, and she has had a number of promotions and is now a strategic customer success manager. Erika is a customer success enthusiast, wearer of many hats, curious by nature, and a process addict. She is happiest when she is able to translate customer data into actionable insights that help improve customer experience and drive success. And not to mention, she is also the top 25 CS influencer for 2023, as well as an author for an ebook called Raising the Bar: How to Excel in Your Enterprise CSM Role. Today, we will speak to Erika all about what a strategic customer success manager does and how she has leveled up her career from CSM to senior CSM to strategic CSM. Erika will share her secret sauce on how to stay organized, what she focuses on day to day to become more proactive as a CSM, and how her focus on data and analytics has led to her promotions. Let's chat to Erika. Welcome, Erika, to the podcast. Before we get into today's topic, can you please tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself and how you started at Aptura and what your role is?
Yes. Hi, Anika. Thank you very much for having me here in your podcast. I'm a huge fan. You know that. So a little bit about myself. First of all, I'm Mexican. I was born and raised in Monterrey, Mexico. I basically started my professional career and spent 10 years of my life working for a fintech company back in Monterrey. This is actually how I got into SaaS and into customer success. It was my first role, my last role at that fintech company. At that company, I had the opportunity to do pretty much every role that exists because, working in a startup, you get to do sales, operations, and that's how I ended up in customer success. But after the pandemic hit in 2020, I kind of started rethinking what I wanted to do next with my career. And I made a very big decision of moving from Mexico to Dallas and into the US. I knew that I wanted to continue growing my career in customer success. So I made that switch in 2020. After working at a small startup called Smart Moving, I was pulled into Aptura because of my personal brand. I was sharing a lot of content on LinkedIn, sharing my experiences, and someone from Aptura, Condeco at that time, reached out saying that they had an open role for a senior enterprise CSM role. I applied, and shortly later, I started my career here at Aptura. I've been with the company somewhere around 3 years. It's going to be in May, I think. And I pretty much went from being a senior CSM into a principal CSM. And this year, at the beginning of the year, I was also promoted to strategic CSM. So I've done pretty much every role in customer success so far as an individual contributor.
Amazing. I love your story, Erika. And I know when we last spoke on my previous podcast, you shared a lot about how to build your personal brand and how to land that job. But it's so awesome to see you not only land, but obviously move from one step to the next step in your career and move into a strategic customer success manager role, which is what we're going to talk about today. But before we jump into your role specifically, tell us a little bit more about the company you're part of. What does your team look like today? What kind of customers do you work with as a strategic CSM?
Yes, of course. So Eptura is a company that focuses on word tech solutions for big enterprise customers. We offer solutions for people, workplaces, and assets. So you think about the remote world after the pandemic, precisely, everyone went on a flexible type of environment, and what our products help support that type of environment for companies. My team, well, the customer success team is a global CS team. We have presence in Americas, we have presence in EMEA, and also in APAC. The team is conformed from somewhere around 20 to 25 CSMs all across the world. And we also have segmented CSMs among mid-market customers, enterprise customers, and strategic customers. And my role as a strategic CSM, I work with our most strategic customers. And for us at Eptura, a strategic customer means that it's a global customer with presence all across the world. They are big logo brands that you can recognize just by the name of them. They are also the ones that spend the most amount of money with us at the company. And one of the key things that classify a customer as a strategic customer is the ability to grow, right? We can sell them or cross-sell them different products, making them grow their business with us here in the company. So that's pretty much what a strategic CSM does.
Amazing. Thank you for the definition, because I think a lot of people are trying to be more strategic in their role as a CSM, but I think that it's sometimes unclear what type of customers you have to work with in order to be strategic and what you have to do day to day to be strategic, which I know we'll jump into. But I really want to touch upon your career transition, because I think all of us in customer success come from very different backgrounds, and that's what makes us truly unique as a department within SaaS. And I think that CS has no one size fits all, which means that everyone from a different background can end up in customer success, much like yourself. And I'd love to know what drove you to transition into customer success. Why CS? What made you make that change?
Yes. So back when I was working at Pesos, which was the first startup that I joined back in Mexico, I knew that I was always very close to customers, right? Like I spent a lot of time understanding them, understanding what their needs were, understanding what their challenges were. My title back then wasn't even customer success. I did a lot of strategic planning and then a lot of sales, right? So for me, the ability to really understand customer needs, understand their challenges, and figuring out ways on how to help them be successful was what really drove me into customer success. At that time, I didn't know that customer success existed. And when I had the opportunity to find this role, I was like, this is a perfect fit. This is what I love doing. This is what helps me, drives me every day to work, like the ability of helping customers achieve their definition of success and helping them remove those roadblocks that they always face with new technology. So I thought that when I started doing my research on customer success, I thought this is a perfect role for me. So I basically deep dove into it all, learned as much as possible as I could, even before transitioning here to the US. And so far, it's been working really well for me, because I feel like I am just a great fit for the role.
I love that. And you've also not only transitioned and learned a lot before you even had the role, you continue to learn and you continue to level yourself up, so much so that you share your content on LinkedIn, you have your ebook, and you now have gone through a number of promotions as well, which is super exciting. Congratulations, Erika. Really, I love seeing all the steps you've made in your customer success career. But obviously, there's still a lot more to your career, I'm sure. And thinking about the future and what you'd want next in your career, what is your career ambition now that you've made this transition to customer success, but you've also leveled up? You've become a more senior, a more higher level customer success manager. What's next for you?
And that's a great question. So when I decided to move here and when I took a step back from my management role, it was always with the objective of returning into a leadership role. My goal, and I have been talking about this on LinkedIn, and everyone who knows me knows that I want to become a VP of customer success. For me, I really loved leading people. When I was back a manager at the startup called Pesos, I had a small team. I loved bringing in the strategy and really making a change and a positive impact on the company. So for me, I really want to move back to that leadership role when I can guide people, be their best version of themselves, and really help and move the needle. You know, we all right now are struggling with customer success. We all are talking about how difficult it is to set a good strategy and really impact on the customer base. So for me, I want to be able to go back to that type of role where I can make a difference in the industry, make a difference in my company, and make a difference in my team.
Yeah, I think you're already doing a lot of that, Erika. And I know that sometimes a title always helps, but I totally think you're one of those leaders that doesn't need a title to lead, because I think of everything you share, from your personal experience to day in, day outs of how you handle renewal conversations, how you handle any sort of churn conversation. You're already leading by sharing your examples and your strategy. And I can only imagine how lucky of a team would be to be within your team. So I'm sure that'll happen for you soon enough. And I'm excited to see when that happens for you as well. But since we are talking about being a strategic CSM, and that's the main reason we're here chatting today, I would love to know, what is the difference? You've been a CSM, a senior CSM, principal CSM, and now strategic CSM. You did touch upon that being strategic, you're working with significant logos that everyone understands, but has your skill set changed over the last 2 to 4 years as you've leveled up? Like, what's really changed in order for you to move into these different titles and roles that you've held?
Yes. So the skills are a little bit different, I would say, because when you are dealing with a bigger book of business, I started as a entry-level CSM with a mid-market customer base where I was handling 150 customers, right? So when I was in that role, you can't dedicate time one-on-one with these customers, right? So you have to find different ways of reaching them and being more, what can I say, digital, with a more digital approach, right? So you start creating content, you start creating videos, you start sharing resources, but more in a massive scale rather than one-on-one conversations that you're having when you're more in with a bigger company or with a strategic company, right? So with that, as I started moving into bigger roles, from the entry level to a senior enterprise role, my account base started changing. From 150, I went to 40 accounts, and then to 25, and then currently I'm managing 15 accounts, right? So with that, you start to dedicate more time with each one of your customers, and what you couldn't do with success plans and business reviews when you have 150 accounts, now you can do when you have a smaller book of business, right? It's also more of the conversations that you're having and the type of information that you gather with those customers on your one-on-ones. And it's a lot of active listening, a lot of problem solving, and a lot of identifying those roadblocks that hinder success. So with that, in a strategic role, what I work a lot on are success plans and business reviews. On those success plans, I sit with my customers. I try to gather as much information as I can on what their goals are, how they measure their success, because each customer has different definition of their success. And then I work on these success plans where I can share with them my learnings and try to figure out how I can make a different strategy to help them get to their point B or where they want to go, right? In a mid-market type of role, you can't do that. You have to find different ways of gathering that information. There were surveys, for example, that you can send your customers to so they can answer in a more scalable way. And in these other bigger roles, strategic roles, it's more of one-on-one type of conversation. It's more of a white glove type of engagement with them. So that's kind of like what makes it different. It's also the amount of money that these customers are paying, right? So it's more of what type of strategies can I help this customer get to their point B or their success outcome, right?
Definitely. And you just touched upon something I want to dive in a little bit deeper. Yes, with mid-market customers or hundreds of customers in your book of business, you're not going to be able to be as white glove, as engaged, and your success plans and quarterly business reviews are going to look different because you just don't have time to do quarterly business reviews with hundreds of accounts, and you don't have time to be as methodical with your success plans when you have hundreds of accounts. But now that you have less, what does your success plan look like? Like when you're building that with your customer, if I was a strategic customer success manager on your team, how would I be building a success plan with my customer today?
Yes. So the first thing that I do when I get my task on getting a success plan is trying to gather first all of the information that I have from the customer, because the least that I want is coming into a call and ask questions that we should already know, right? Whether the sales rep already asked, it's already in a note from a discovery call with the SDR, or from multiple conversations around the implementation, what type of features they want to use, what they want to achieve out from the product, right? So I do a lot of research first. I research the customer, I research the website, I go into their 10K reports, I go into the sustainability reports, because that's a very important part here of Aptura and the workplace strategy, right? So I try to gather as much information from what the company says as a company that their goals are, and then bring that back and put it into a document where I can say, okay, this is what I've learned from you so far. Try to figure out which questions I don't have answers to that I can ask. So then I schedule a discovery call with a customer and say, okay, I understand this from the previous experience or from your previous journey with us, but I still don't have clarity on, these 5 questions, right? Which is a lot of discovery. So I'm asking questions around their workplace strategy. I'm asking questions about the return to office. I'm asking questions about what type of metrics they want to measure moving forward, why they purchase our solution, just to clarify all of these things that are important for a success plan, right? And then after that discovery call, and after I have everything that I need, I put it together in a pretty format. Well, you can either do it like in a Word document or a PowerPoint presentation. Really, the format doesn't really matter. The content is what matters most. So I put down the objectives that I found that the customer said that they care about. I put the challenges and the roadblocks that will hinder or that will avoid me from helping them get to those success outcomes that they have defined. I talk about metrics a lot. Like, what do we need to measure? Are we measuring, sustainability? Are we measuring reducing costs? Are we measuring right-sizing the buildings, for example, and reducing real estate costs? So everything that means return on their investment, everything that can track back to how I'm helping them improve efficiencies, how I'm helping them reduce costs, should be on that success plan, because that is how we validate the value that we're bringing to the organization, right? And then the success plan is not only built one time, right? You have to constantly go back to the success plan and review, like, okay, did we accomplish this goal? What's the next goal? Where do we want to go next, right? So it's an iterative document that you have to have very close to you and to the customer, and constantly being changing and making sure that you have the most accurate information to make them successful. So it's a very success plans for me are hard, it's a lot of work, but if you do them correctly, you will start to see the results, and you will start to see how you can start identifying opportunities for expansion. The challenges that the customer are facing sometimes are being solved by another feature that your product offers, or by another solution, right? So that's how you continue to grow the customer as well. And it all comes back to the basics of customer success, which is listening, understanding customer needs, and delivering value, which is the biggest one.
Yeah, you just said a gold mine of things right there, Erika, that I don't need to repeat, but I absolutely love. I totally endorse customer success plans. I think they are the key to success. Like you said, they are a lot of work, but when you put in the work, it is a plan for your customer to continue to see success with with the value your product brings to their business. And what I absolutely have to drive home, that I tell all customer success managers that I work with, is that it is a living, breathing document. It is something that continues to be updated based on customer goals. Quarter per quarter, your customer goals are going to change. That means the way they use your software and product is going to change. That means showing ROI to them is going to change as well. And this is something that has to constantly be iterated, and really up to a customer success manager to determine outline and put a plan forward. We're all busy people, but part of being a strategic CSM is putting a plan together so your customers feel like they know what's coming next and having the next steps. I also say this like with anything else in life, like we don't just like, you don't go on a vacation, you plan a vacation, you decide like, I'm going to buy an airplane ticket and I'm going to go and stay at this hotel, but that's a plan. And then you then take the steps to then execute on that plan. And a success plan is exactly that. In order to really unlock value, you do need to have it. So thank you for sharing all those tips. I could not take notes fast enough. I hope everyone listening took notes fast enough. But let's talk about QBRs, because those are another, I think, tool that a strategic CSM is using day in and day out to be correctly aligned with your customer. What does a quarterly business review look like for you? Why is it important that you're doing this with your customers? How do you become more strategic in your QBRs?
Yes. So the QBR for me goes very much in line with a success plan, because at the end of the day, you're presenting your results, right? You said 3 months ago, we talked about these goals, we talked about these challenges, and we talked about these metrics that you see that you have marked as the way for success, right? Today, here is where we're at. Did we achieve these outcomes? Did we remove these roadblocks? Did we improve this metric or not? Are we seeing a trend, a positive trend or a negative trend? For me, it's having those conversations where I can talk about progress, right? Did we achieve what we wanted to achieve, what we said 3 months ago? Yes or no? And if no, why not? Did we see something that happened? I don't know, maybe end user adoption was not great because, I don't know, something happened and for some reason we were not able to reach the goal that we defined. The question is, what do we need to do to get to point B? And then there's a conversation around the strategy. For me, it's talking about QBRs are talking about strategy more than anything. So when you find that you didn't meet a goal, you need to figure out how you're going to help them get to the goal if it was not in 3 months, in the next 3 months, right? So it's either sharing resources, sharing best practices, sharing a case study, for example, of a customer who was able to do it. How did they do it, right? It's benchmarking your customer to how other customers are doing and sharing what has worked for other customers so they can implement that and make sure that they can move forward and progress on their goals, right? So it's a lot of finding and comparing and benchmarking your customers to other customers so you can help them be successful. And then the other part is showing metrics, right? From the success metrics that we defined 3 months ago, here are the results. And I share graphs and I share metrics that they care about. I am not copy-pasting some graphs that we have from Plan Hat in there because that's what leadership told me to do. What I try to do is always present information that the customer wants to see, right? That they've told me that they're interested in. So all of those graphs are put in the QBR, and based on what we're seeing on those metrics, we are defining a new strategy to move forward, right? And then at the end of the QBR, we review again and reassess the customer success plan. Do we need to change a different goal? Has anything changed from your strategy that we need to move behind? And do we need to put something in place to make sure that we're always working towards what you have defined and where you want to go, right? So it's reviewing what you said in the beginning, reviewing the metrics, and setting a new strategy to move forward. For me, that's what the business review is all about. I don't include anything more than that. And most of the times out of my business reviews, I start listening to different challenges that I add, and then just update my success plan to make them achieve those goals.
Yeah, I love that. There is so much there again, Erika, that you're talking about, but you're also just talking about a lot of skills that come into play as a customer success manager, specifically as a strategic CSM. In success planning, you were talking all about discovery calls and really understanding their goals and truly getting to the root of why they're using your product and service. In a QBR, you were talking so much about being like a metric guru and really understanding the data and really presenting back value and even benchmarking it against other customers. There's just so many skills that a CSM has to have these days. I definitely feel like CSMs are jacks of all trades, but like, what do you think are the most important skills that if you are a CSM today and you want to be more strategic, based on some of the things that you do every single day, what are the skills that CSM should be focusing on in order to level up?
You basically summarize them in that statement that you just made. Active listening, of course, curiosity, right? Like you need to curiosity is really about caring, like you want to learn more. You want to continue asking questions, which is why discovery skills are critical. If you're not asking the right questions, if you're not deep diving into the why, for me, the five whys technique has helped me greatly, right? Because the customer says something and it's like, okay, and that's fine. No, ask why, and then why again, and until you get to the root cause or to the bottom of that challenge or to the bottom of their goal, right? So you can, with that information, figure out the best strategy to help them, right? But besides that, that analytics plays a huge part of being strategic, right? You need to really understand the data that you're seeing from their application, what's happening with the usage, what's happening with the goals that they decided that they want to track, right? What is this data telling me, and why is it not behaving accurately, or why is it trending upward, right? Like deep diving into the numbers so you can really understand what's happening, so you can provide better resources, you can provide a better feedback and help them more with that data, right? So that analytics plays a huge part. And then last but not least, problem solving. Problem solving is huge because customers come to you with a lot of challenges. I'm facing this challenge, and you have a list of 5 different challenges. And if you're not able to problem solve and figure out how to remove those roadblocks, they are not going to be successful, right? So problem solving becomes critical when you're trying to help your customers achieve their definition of success. If you're not solving those problems, then you're probably doomed because you're not going to help them be successful. So yeah, active listening, curiosity, data analytics, problem solving, and discovery skills to summarize.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. And those aren't anything that's like, you're not a rocket scientist here. You're just really focusing on what matters for your customers and really making sure you're unlocking doors for them through the strategies that you've just discussed. And the skills that you've talked about are things that can be applied into every single activity that you do with your customer, whether it's a QBR, a success plan, a renewal conversation, a churn conversation, doesn't matter. Problem solving, getting to the root cause, asking those why questions, really getting into the metrics, I think applies every single day as a CSM. And if you can make sure you're focusing on that, you will be more strategic. But there's a lot of things that you are doing, Erika, by the sounds of it. It's no easy job being Erika and being a strategic CSM. So how do you find balance? Like, what are some of the tasks and activities that you do day in and day out? And how do you make sure you're able to conquer all of that? Because it sounds like a lot.
It does sound like a lot. I try to keep myself organized as much as possible. Time management skills are also critical, because sometimes you have days where you have 5 different meetings with customers and you're running around to get all your notes into PlanHat and making sure that you're following up on the tasks and emails and, like meetings, success plans, business reviews. It's a lot of work. And I do think that CSMs are heroes, because we have to work cross-functionally with, 6 different departments in the organization, and also meet with sales and meet with product. And it's a lot of work. But for me, what keeps me sane and not losing my mind on my day-to-day basis is just making sure that my calendar is organized, right? That I am blocking time in my calendar so I can finish my tasks, that I can block time to build that business review, to go into the customer environment, to understand what's happening with that data, so I can spend time in the strategic part of my role more than just the meeting and following up and sending emails type of activities, right? So the only way to do that is organizing your calendar so you can have those blocks of time to deep dive into that strategic work that will help you continue to grow your customer base, right? So I guess it's just about time management for me.
Yeah, I love that. You're also the second person. Rachel and I talked about that in a previous podcast. And I think that two underrated skills in customer success is the ability to manage your time or block your time appropriately, and also context switching. Like you just said, we jump from a product meeting to a sales meeting to a customer meeting, all within the space of a few hours before lunch. And we have to constantly switch context, be able to bring value to that conversation depending on who we're speaking to, and then make sure we stay on top of our time. Like you said, it's so important. And the one thing I will keep saying until I think the day I stop doing customer success is whenever you block your time, I actually call it something. I do not say focus time. I do not say just no meetings. I say working on customer X's success plan, because that is exactly what I'm supposed to do in that hour. And it's the only way I can get things done. And I think that it is such an underrated skill in customer success if you're able to properly time manage and be able to jump from one meeting to the next. I think those are underrated skills.
It's funny, Anika, because I do exactly the same thing. My blogs don't say tasks. They say specifically, like if I'm going to build a success plan or if I'm going to dedicate this hour for this business review, it's business review for X customer, right?
Yeah.
Or strategic work for X customer. Like you have to, I just like to keep my tasks organized in a way that I don't lose the attention, right? Like I know that I have to do that and I just use that time to do it. So
yeah, definitely. I feel like there could be a podcast all about tasks and like calendar management and customer success. I'm sure we can talk about that. But let's talk a little bit more about data. I know you love data. I know you love getting to like the bottom or the reason why customers are either struggling or how they're using your product. But you also talked about value and the importance of showcasing value to your customers. So how do you use data or the data that you have on hand to make sure your customers are seeing value with your product? I think a lot of people have these data points. A lot of people see how products are being used, but how are you connecting that back to ROI and value to your customers?
Yes, of course. So one of the big goals, for example, here from customers at Aptura, well, there's like three top goals of using our Condeco application, right? One of them being that they want to reduce real estate costs, right? They purchase our solution because there's people at their offices. They're not 100% there. Some might go three times per week at the office. Others might go 5 times all of the week at the office. So kind of depends because when they're measuring how much people they have in their office, they can also measure how much space is being used and space utilization, which is a key measurement for the facilities team and for the real estate team, right? So if I'm bringing data and I'm telling my customers, say, hey, look, we have 3 different floors set with Condeco. We have personal spaces, we have meeting spaces. And I come back and I tell them, hey, look, 50% of their floor is being used. Only 50%. What that means is that you're losing money on the 50% of the floor that's no one's using, the desks have not been reserved or the rooms have not been reserved, right? So this is critical information that can help them make better decisions on which part of the floor, how many floors, how many departments, how much space can I cut from my real estate so I can reduce those costs, right? So that's one big one that turns directly into ROI because saving real estate costs reduces the money that they spend, right? So that's number one. And then another big goal of our customers is to increase collaboration, right? So they come into the office and they want to know how do I know which ones of my teams are going to be at the office? I don't want to come into an office when no one that I interact with is going to be there, right? So we have different sets of functionality in our application that can help drive that outcome, right? That can help measure how they're connecting within the office. And those features are the ones that I report on. I track the utilization of people who are booking team days, for example. And team day means that I can come into my office and when I invite, my friend from the floor 4 and I'm going to be interacting with, maybe I'm going to be cross-collaborating with product. And so I need them there as well. So all of that functionality that tracks like how the interaction between the people in the office, that's also a measure that they like to report on, right? Because that also tracks back to the outcomes that they decided that they wanted to engage, right? So I just use the information that we have from usage, and that usage that tracks back to the ROI that we're measuring, and present that so they can make better decisions and make sure that we're delivering value and helping them achieve those goals. So
I love that. Make better decisions. You are basically helping them make better business decisions, which is what a customer success manager is there. You are a business strategist. You're there to help your customers succeed in their business. I think a lot of times it gets confusing because we think, oh, we're here to see you successful with our product. Of course we are, but that's only because your business is successful will our product be successful within your business. So I love that you connect it to, hey, what business outcomes are you driving, or what's really important to your business, and how can I help you do that? And when your business is successful, then we are too. And you just connect those dots. And I think that that is truly how CSMs move from being everyday, or just say, like you said, mid-market, or just like, reactive customer success, to truly being strategic, is where you make that connection between what their business outcomes are and how you're going to drive that forward using whichever product you have in your company as well. So love that you're sharing that with us. Thanks for that. I want to jump into your ebook, which I absolutely loved. I had the privilege of reading before you released it. But for those listeners that don't know, Erika released a wonderful ebook called Raising the Bar and How to Excel in Your Enterprise CSM Role. And I would love to know, what is the secret sauce in there? Without giving away too much, Erika, obviously I want everyone to go and download your ebook, but if you were to take the secret sauce out of that book about really leveling up your career, what would be your number one tip to everyone?
Number one tip to level up their career. If you want to grow your career, I definitely could say that working on success plans and business reviews, for example, and really understanding customer goals and all of the skills that we talked about today, there's a skill section included in the ebook as well, where you talk about active listening and being curious and problem solving and all of these. But if you do want to level up your career, you need to communicate the value that you're bringing to your company, right? It's not only about what you're bringing to the customers and their organizations, but also the impact that you're having, the revenue impact that you're making on your company, right? So you're able to track the metrics that matter to your company, which normally for a strategic CSM or for any role as a CSM would be gross revenue retention, net revenue retention. You're making sure that you're growing your book of business and showing how much growth, upsells, and expansions you're bringing, how much churn you're preventing, how much growth overall, usage and all. If you're able to communicate that and be very vocal and visible, I think that's one of the things that has made me be successful and grow in my career.
I love that. And you have had significant gains in your career, but I very much believe that every individual is the driver of their own career trajectory. You really have to take control and move it forward. And I know that you've shared a lot on LinkedIn about how you being more strategic and really unlocking the metrics and the value that you bring to the company has helped you level up. Is there any other tactics that you would share on how to get promoted? You just mentioned communication and making it clear, which is I totally endorse, but I think in a tough time and in a tough economic market and people wanting to get promoted, sometimes they're being told no, and sometimes they're being told later, or it's just not that easy. And so would you have any other tips on how to make sure you're on the right track towards promotion?
Yes, I think one thing that I would add more in owning your metrics and your numbers is being very vocal and very visible. One thing that I've learned is that you should be communicating what you're doing, your additional projects that you're working on, how you're helping with the product team, with feature requests, with business cases, so you can prove the value of additional features that will have in your with your customers, right? But not only that, like CSMs work cross-functionally with multiple departments. So if you're able to help, I don't know, the professional services team with something, or be part of a project with a product team, or owns own different sets of projects that not only involve your role, that go the extra mile, that help solve a big problem or a big challenge, a CS initiative with a customer success team, you name it, right? So the more visible that you get, the more people see you that's not necessarily in your department, the easier that it gets for people to resonate with your name. Okay, Erika, yes, she helped me with this, or she helped me with that, right? So they become the advocates for you. So whenever there's an opportunity, the first ones who are talking about who should get it is, these people that you work with, that you help them with a different project. So I think it's not just about communicating with your manager, it's communicating with the whole company. And the more visible that you are, the easier that it gets. At least it's what I've learned so far.
I would totally have to agree. And I love saying this to CSMs as well. Much like we have multiple stakeholders and champions in our customers, in your career and in your company, you have multiple stakeholders and champions and advocates. And you need to make sure that all of these people, when you are up for promotion, they are going to be the main stakeholder that's making the decision. And then you have champions and advocates that are going to endorse the fact that, hey, Erika's up for promotion. Of course she is. I endorse that she works amazingly with the product team, and that's your product champion right there. And so I think a lot of times CSM have to recognize that you don't have stakeholders and champions and advocates just with your customers. You also have it within your company, and it's a big part of leveling up in your career. So thanks for sharing that, Erika. One more question before we dive into our quick fire round. What has been your biggest learning in your customer success career thus far?
It actually, my biggest learning also comes back to what we just said, and it talks about building great relationships internally. Without the relationships that you're building internally in your company, you're probably doomed. Like CS has to work cross-functionally with almost every department in the organization. So you need to understand what drives those departments so you can help them achieve their goals. So when it comes time for them to help you, it's a no-brainer, right? Yes, okay, you need help with this, or you need to escalate this issue, or you need to fix this defect or whatever, people are more willing to help you when they've seen you help them, right? So I think that's one of the biggest learnings that I've had. Without great relationships internally, you're just going to have a very difficult time doing your role.
I love that. Great takeaway and great way to wrap up our conversation before we jump into Quickfire. Are you ready to answer these next few questions in a sentence or less, Erika?
I am going to try. I
think you'll do great. My first question is, if you could predict the future, what do you think would be next for customer success?
Right now, everyone will be focused this year and next year on revenue growth. How do we help CSMs increase their skills to find better upsells and expansions, better communications for increasing sales within the company? So revenue growth would be my answer.
I love that. And I completely agree. And it's why I teach a cohort course all about how to be a better revenue generator as a CSM. So I absolutely totally endorse that answer. The next question I have for you is, which app or software do you use every day or every week that can be on your phone or on your laptop?
On my phone, the notes from my iPhone, I think that's one of the biggest ones. I have a lot of different notes when ideas come up for content creation, for, anything that I have, it's on my notes app on my phone. And for my computer, if I had to choose, like a customer success type of app, it would definitely be my CS platform. Right now, I'm using PlanCat, so I couldn't live without it. Definitely.
I love that. Amazing. And if you could change one thing about customer success, what would it be?
I would change the fact that it's the go-to department for everything. At the end of the day, everything comes back to customer success. And I think that ends up having CSMs do work that not necessarily fall in their lap, So I wish that could be different. I wish that we weren't the, throw it to CS department type of thing. I would definitely wish that we could change that. Yeah.
Cool. I wish that too. I think that that's been like a wish for a while, if I'm honest. I wonder when that will change, but we will see. Amazing. And my last question for you today is, who should be my next podcast guest?
I would love you to have John Johnson. I don't think I've ever heard, well, he has his own podcast, with Update AI and everything, but conversation with him would be great.
Awesome. I will add him to my list of next guests to interview. Thank you so much, Erika, for your time, your passion, and just sharing all your tips and tricks with us. I really appreciate it. I'm sure our listeners have as well. If they do have any follow-up questions or want to continue the conversation with you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
LinkedIn messaging would be the best way, or you can find me. Well, yeah, I think LinkedIn would be the best way, for sure.
Okay, amazing. I'll make sure to link all of Erika's contact details in the show notes. And thank you so much again, Erika. I really love this conversation.
Thank you, Anika. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Customer Success Pro podcast today. I hope you learned something new to take back to your team and your company. If you enjoyed today's episode, please can you take 1 minute to give me a positive review on Apple Podcasts? It takes a lot of time and energy to create an episode, and I want to continue to create more for you. But it would be great to know that you are enjoying these episodes. Also, do not forget to subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast, as I release a new podcast every month. And if you have any topics that you would like me to discuss in the future, or you would like to be a guest on this podcast, please feel free to reach out. All my contact details are in the show notes. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to share it, because sharing is caring. Thanks again for listening, and tune in next time for more on customer success. Cheers to your CS journey, and catch you next time.